Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, my name is Brad. This is my channel Adamant Orange, where I bring you a lot of 3D metal models and show you how I build them. Today on the table, the Mitsubishi Zero. And honestly, I've kind of already gotten started on this little guy because this was going to be a quick build, but it's a little bit more complicated, and honestly I'm questioning the idea of the quick builds. It was a bit of an experiment just to keep some of the easier models into a shorter, simpler video. How do you feel about it? If you're watching this video, you want to leave down below how do you feel about the quick builds. This was going to be a quick build, but I think maybe it needs a little more explanation, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So here we go. Let's check out, look inside this package, see what's inside, and put this little kind of simplistic but a little tricky build together. The Mitsubishi Zero. Inside we have our usual one metal sheet with all the parts and a yellow sheet of instructions. So this is kind of an older model. Fold this in half so it'll fit on the screen. And then if we look here on the top half, we have the usual Metal Earth 3D laser cut model, line drawing of the finished model, the aircraft, and one of the sheets. We have a sample part with notations about the insertion tabs, insertion holes, and fold lines. The needle nose pliers being helpful for assembly. Your little older style legend, the blue circle, you see that at a connection point. Insert a tab, fold it over 90 degrees. Green triangle, insert and twist 90 degrees. And a little tip about pulling as you twist or screw to make a tighter connection, and that's very true. And we have the layout of our metal sheet. And then over here, starting at the assembly flow chart, you got part 1 comes down here, 2 and 3 attach, slide down here and add on part 4 and over there. So you just basically follow the part numbers and arrows and assemble this thing. So you get to the halfway point, you go to this little quarter here, pick up with 5, add that on, follow down, add on these tail pieces, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the wheels. Jump over here, put the propeller area together, slide down here, add this little, I don't know if that's a missile or an extra fuel tank or whatever, down here, and you're all finished with the model. Let's take a moment to talk about the tools that I use. This is my standard set that I use in most every build. I have long needle nose pliers and flat nose pliers, useful for a variety of different things. I have flush clippers that I use to cut the parts off the trees. It makes it quick and easy. And then I have some precision tweezers, one with a very pointed end, one that's had the pointed end ground down slightly, and one with a flat, sort of curved end. Great for getting into curved areas. And then I have a standard set of tweezers with an angled tip. These come in one of the Iconics models, and I love them and use them a lot. When it comes to shaping rounded parts, there are many options. I used dowel rods for a long time. I sharpened the ends of 2 of them with a pencil sharpener. These 2 are great for making cone shapes. Another option is a cheap drill bit set. The set has quite a few different sizes to choose from. Another option is a set of step mandrels. We've briefly looked over directions, talked a little bit about tools. Let's put this thing together. The method of assembly for this airplane is a little different than I am accustomed to. The instructions have you adding the wings before folding the fuselage any at all. And I'm not saying this is a bad plan, but just very different for me. It does make it a little difficult not to bend the wings or stress the connections of the wings while trying to shape the fuselage.
I shaped the fuselage a little bit before adding the cockpit cover. I needed some room for my big fingers, so I kind of bent the sides down a little. Two things to note here. One, I expected the sides to fold so that the wings stood straight out on their own, and that is not how this goes. Later, there are supports that help hold the wings, and I did not know that yet. Number two, you may have noticed already that I put one of the wings on upside down, so I'll need to fix that. You are supposed to shape the front part of the plane into more rounded shape according to the instructions. I used a dowel rod to push against and also flat tweezers to kind of pinch the corners down to give it a more rounded shape. I bent the rear wheels down before attaching part 5, which in hindsight I would not have done. I would have left them in place until getting the tabs through the slots were right there where they bend and twisting them. So I had to kind of open the rear wheels up a little bit to be able to twist those tabs and get them in their slot. I bent the tabs on the flaps that attach under the wings to assist them in lining up with the slots. I bend the tabs holding the tail wing down to line them up with their slides. The instructions are not quite clear which way to mount the wheels, so I looked up the 360 view online, and from the bottom it looks like the flared off part at the top points towards the rear of the plane, as you see here. I have a cheap little paintbrush that works great for shaping the cone pieces on many of the airplanes that I have built. It took several tries and a few adjustments to get this small cone part aligned and in place. It's a good idea to bend all the tabs so they point straight forward so they more easily line up with the slots on the propeller assembly. I can't say I'm real happy about having to attach this last part and then shape it. It certainly makes shaping it a little more of a challenge, but shaping it first and then trying to twist the tabs inside is even worse.
All finished and complete, the Mitsubishi Zero. Now upon first look, one sheet, very simple instructions, it's only one side of the paper, looks like it's going to be a pretty quick build, not a lot of parts, get started off really simply, and then once you get into shaping it, it got a little puzzling how to shape it, and it just kind of turned complicated. I may have made it more complicated than it need to be, but it wasn't as simple as I thought. So not a bad build, but not super easy like I expected. Really not much to it, but the way it comes together is a bit different as far as, you know, attaching the wings pointing straight up and then shaping the body. That's questionable. If I had to do it again, I don't know that I would follow the directions quite as much. I think I might do more to shape the body and then try to squeeze the wings in, but I kind of see what they did there. It's a different approach, and this kind of shows you how you don't always have to follow the directions exactly. Sometimes there might be a little bit better way to do it, or a better way for you to do it, because different people, different talents. You might feel more comfortable getting into the tighter spots and less comfortable shaping with additional parts on, and somebody else may be the other way around. Interesting little tidbit. So it's not a complicated build, but it did have a little bit of a challenge, and the approach was different than I am accustomed to. So that's I guess in part why this became not a quick build, but with a little more of a full video to explain it. So this took about an hour to put together, and I almost gave up once or twice because I thought I'd done something really terribly wrong. And I guess it's just the approach being different, but I persisted because that's what I do, and I pushed on and it came together, and I really didn't think the wings were going to look good, and they were a bit of a fight to get into place and down, pointing outwards instead of up in the air like some sort of crazy machine, but it worked, and I ended up with this pretty neat final product. But I'll leave it at that. Really not that complicated a build, but a little bit of something to talk about. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. If you like these videos, consider supporting this channel to keep these build videos coming, to give me the opportunity to build more interesting and larger builds. Check out in the description down below a link to my Patreon. Become a Patreon supporter. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Or just leave a tip in a tip jar. As always, thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.